is on the framework to dispute resolution. Since I have given a broad framework of how the international tax disputes should be approached in the Indian context, I would like to offer a few thoughts and suggestions on the path ahead following this approach. I do not subscribe to the belief either that the Indian revenue authorities have acted to try and bring more tax out of foreign investors, or that foreign investors are running away without paying the tax due. Rather, it is my view that disputes arise due to a complex set of circumstances and require to be resolved, keeping competing interests of improving tax collection as well as encouraging foreign investment in mind. It is not for me to prescribe how each and every future dispute must be addressed, but I would like to outline the normative and institutional changes that I believe will help in ensuring that the disputes get resolved in an appropriate manner and also quickly. One such step has been outlined by the present Minister for Finance recently, and this relates to the revenue adopting a non-confrontational approach in international tax disputes. If the dispute can be resolved without reference to the court, revenue authorities have been encouraged to adopt a less adversarial approach in such matters. This would involve the revenue waiving interest and penalty to whatever extent possible under the law if the assessee accepts liability to pay tax, or provide for less onerous terms of payment. The idea is to change the approach of the revenue authorities in the context of international tax disputes, and perhaps in the process ensure that the revenue's interests can also be suitably protected. This approach is rather welcome, considering the fact that actually litigations in India take a very long time, and I hope this approach will also result in fewer assessees immediately rushing to the High Court at the first sight of a show cause notice, trying what my good friend, the Advocate General of Maharashtra, Mr. Darius Kambata, has called the Hail Mary move in the context of certain dispute when he was appearing in some matter. Avoiding the regular hierarchy of tax courts and rushing to the High Court as a first instance seems to me to carry the whiff of forum shopping. More so, even in cases where the revenue has tried to adopt a conciliatory and non-adversarial approach to a dispute. And this assumes a greater importance because for the effective resolution of disputes, it is just not the revenue to adopt a non-adversarial approach. Assessees must also deal with the revenue in good faith and for a quick and fruitful settlement of the dispute, and must equally adopt a non-adversarial approach. But that's going to be very difficult. It's also impractical, I realize that. But I think if this happens, it will be a very ideal situation. While the non-adversarial approach may deal with certain situations, there may arise other instances where the issues at stake are complex and require detailed analysis and adjudication. Apart from the regular appellate framework under the Income Tax Act, the Authority for Advance Ruling and the Dispute Resolution Panel also exist for the benefit of non-resident taxpayers to have their disputes adjudicated without an extended appeal process. The Authority for Advance Rulings is headed by a retired Supreme Court judge and two others, whereas the DRP is composed of a collegium of 3 commissioners of income tax. But I want to be frank, in fact, there's a feeling among many people that the Authority for Advance Ruling, when it was headed by a particular judge who has now retired, actually went hammer and tongs, and actually had sought to go against even settled principles of law laid down by the Supreme Court. But now there's a change of guard, and the Authority for Advance Ruling is headed by another retired judge of the Supreme Court who is quite well versed in tax matters. But in view of the fact that he had some health problems, I think the authority is also not able to function that effectively as it should function. And as regards the dispute resolution procedure, once again I think there have been lots of hue and cry with regard to the manner in which the said DRP was evolved in the Act. And I think possibly in my interactions with the Finance Minister, he was actually saying that to boost the confidence of foreign investors, there should be some tweaking or tinkering with the relevant provisions of the Indian Income Tax Act qua the DRP. Now I will come to my concluding thoughts. The present scenario in dispute resolution in international tax matters in India is in many ways a reflection of the vast changes that are taking place externally and internally within the Indian economy and its linkage to the global economy. The integration of the Indian economy with the global economy is an ongoing process, and this will bring with it new challenges and difficulties, including the issue of international taxation of foreign investors in India. Addressing and resolving these challenges and difficulties will require a stable and coherent resolution disputes between the revenue and the assessors. I have in the course of my speech tried to outline the underlying nuances and subtleties which must be kept in mind while understanding the situation as regards dispute resolution in India. I have also perhaps suggested that the situation may be best addressed in the near future. The Indian experience in dealing with international tax disputes, while unique in some respects, is in no way wholly sui generis or specific to India alone. And it is my sincere hope that the path the Indian revenue authorities adopt will serve as an instructive example to the other nations who find themselves in similar circumstances. So I thank all of you for having listened to me patiently, and whatever I have said, these are my sincere views. And even though I had appeared in the Vodafone case, I can also tell you that I was not for these wholesale amendments, retrospective amendments. I said actually we will lose credibility in the international commercial world if you are going to do these sort of things. And I had actually only suggested a small amendment to section 247. But the government thought otherwise. And I can also tell you that possibly it will be very difficult to sustain the amendments before the court, because the amendments are nothing but whatever was argued before the Supreme Court by the then learned Solicitor General. In fact, a review petition was also filed. The very same grounds were taken. The review petition was dismissed. And after the dismissal of the review petition, we actually see the very same provisions in the form of the amended provisions with retrospective. But these are things actually which gives lots of problems and shows the country in some sort of a bad perspective. But I am sure with the leadership of